Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Develop the Ultimate Golf Game. I'm your coach, Nathan Lenhart, and today we're getting into the moment of truth, hitting the ball. We're going to be working on the downswing into impact. There's going to be a lot of detail in this episode, so make sure to take what you need from this episode to help you in your stage of development that you're in right now. So if you're ready to get to work, then let's get into that right now. All right, let's get into talking about what are the steps that we're going to be talking about here to put together a good downswing. We're going to break it into a few sections here, where the arms first and how they should be moving in the downswing, that upper body, how it should be turning, that club face, how do we keep a square club face on the way down and hitting the ball, and then talking about how do we use our feet and our legs, our hips to kind of turn us and move us to the side. So those are the sections that we're going to be getting in here. First off, when we're talking about the arms, we've got into this great backswing position that we've been working on. That's why the takeaway and the backswing episodes are super important, because from there, it's going to make, like I said in the past, it's going to make everything we're about to do easier, where your body doesn't need to kind of compensate because you were in a poor position already in the backswing. So let's talk first about really paint a clear picture of what should be happening with these arms, because this is where a lot of people get confused right off the bat. Whether they mean to or not, they have a little bit of trouble. The biggest thing I see is that players take their hands towards the golf ball, okay? And in reality, we're not hitting the ball with our hands, right? We're hitting the ball with this club head here. So as soon as those players start to take their hands out here really quickly, well, now the club starts to get out there, and it's like, well, if I have this ball and I'm going to go and hit that ball from this position, it's like, well, that's not going to work unless I, do something to compensate, to try to figure something out, manufacture something. So what we need to understand is, in the downswing, the hands are coming down the side of the body. Okay? They are coming down the side, the trail side of my body. So if we watch how in the backswing, we've got that elbow kind of lifted off the side. To start the downswing, I'm thinking about trying to get that connected closer to the side of my body as my hands are coming down. A lot of people will be like, well, how am I going to hit a ball by just bringing my hands down this side? Well, if we watch, if I add this feeling of these hands and arms coming down the side of my body with a body turn, that's going to start bringing that club head around. People don't realize that it's that body turning that brings that club head around the corner, okay? So kind of talking a little bit more about these arms, is one thought is bringing the hands down towards our trail pocket. That's always been one kind of thought I've liked. Some players like the idea of the club head being like a paintbrush, painting the wall behind them, okay? As opposed to that club head going out this way. So to do that, yes, the arms are coming down, the elbow's coming down, but I'm also doing like a opposite bicep curl, right? That elbow's kind of letting out that angle here. And that's because if I don't, you can imagine I get here and I don't let this out and I hold on to that angle. Well, how am I going to get to the ball, right? There's got to be a little bit of that, so when we get to it, my arm is still slightly bent, but it's not, where it was here at the top of the swing, almost that 90-degree angle. So, clear it up. Let's get these arms coming down. We're going to get into kind of how that lower body should be working. So when we talk about now, how does this chest, the shoulder rotation here? So we're here, as we're starting the downswing, I want to be feeling, you'll notice if we watch from this side, that our front shoulder is going to be pretty much touching our chin or really close to it, okay? So as I'm starting to bring these arms and club down, I want that front shoulder to start separating from my chin there, okay? It's starting to move towards the target. And that's just rotating, right? Because I rotated in this lead shoulder into my chin. Now I'm rotating it away and getting some shoulder rotation there, okay? Okay. to the top. Arms are slowly coming down this way to start. We're getting that shoulder to separate from the chin, turning towards, and again, the direction that this is turning is obviously towards our target there with the chest. Let's get into talking about how we can keep a square club face and use our hands here as we are bringing the hands down and shoulders kind of rotating. All right, so trying to put together the arm action here with a square club face. So what is a square club face? Okay, we spoke about it in the takeaway for that when that club is parallel to the ground, that's always a nice checkpoint, that edge of the club face there is similar to my spine, okay? Not straight up to the sky, not flat down to the ground, somewhere very similar to my spine angle, all right? So it goes to be the same in the downswing that we're trying to, as we get this down and we're at the last shaft parallel position, that this club face again is back to that similar spine angle position. Because then from there, we just need to do is just finish turning the body, and that club face is going to be aiming fairly straight to the target. Okay? Whereas a lot of players that get this club face where it's like this, or even laying back like that when they come down here, well, if they didn't do anything, the ball would be onto the next hole over there. So what they need to end up doing is standing up and really flipping it closed, trying to do like this last second closing to try to square it. So after really working hard in the takeaway and up to the top, trying to make sure that, you know, we get this square club face. On the way down, as these arms are bringing this down, we got to think about, okay, what was that sensation I had in my takeaway? How were my hands? Well, my trail hand was kind of on the side, kind of on top a bit, on an angle of the grip here. My knuckles are, for most part, pointed down to the ground. They're not, you know, up at the wall here, up at the sky. They're a little bit down. So when we get to the top of the swing, we got to just do some repetitions here in thinking, okay, how do I get those hands back to that same position? How do I get this trail hand from being under that club as I turn and bring my arms down into this position again? Okay. So take away, up to the top, bring it down. A lot of times I see that when people bring it down, they kind of have this club working like this, where now that trail hand is almost like underneath the grip now. And that club face is now falling backwards, right? We need it in here, okay? So, you know, just doing this kind of stuff in front of a mirror is crucial, because it's really simple to see it, okay? So when we go to the top and then come down and we kind of look, okay, good. Or go to the top and come down, oh, I feel good here, and then look, uh-oh, okay, what is that? All right. Okay. So that again, when players go and take their hands right towards the ball a lot, sometimes that often kind of gets this club head to be kind of like this. Where, remember, if I'm here and I just bring my arms down my side, it's really easy to get my hands back into this position where I was in the takeaway. Okay. It's a little bit of body turn. We're right in that same position we used to be. All right, so that's why these arms coming down are such a critical piece to all this, as opposed to going towards the body, or going towards the ball, because once those hands go towards the ball and they get too far away, it's like I can't even twist my wrists enough to make it my spine angle when they're way out here, okay? I just physically can't make my bones bend that way. I need them down here. Now I can play around more with that club face to get it where I need it to be, okay? So that's going to be some of our homework we'll chat about in a bit, and just doing a lot of repetitions on top down to this last parallel and how to get that club face there, okay? And to kind of finish up, once we're in that position, as I already mentioned, mainly all we need to do is kind of turn our body and we're good to go. That face is fairly square. But there still is, even though it is square here and we turn our body, there's still, I can't just go and punch my hands towards the target and I don't have to turn them over anymore. Okay, so from this side, it's not to say that as we come and hit and I just go and punch at the target that my ball's always going to go straight, because we still need some turn as we're hitting and after. I want to get the sense that my trail arm is turning over. So after I've finished and my arms are out here, it's like a good analogy is always thinking, okay, my trail hand can kind of go and shake the hand of the target, right? But if I've come down and I've hit and I just kind of push my hands forwards and don't turn them over anymore, and my hand's like this, like I'm not going to go and shake the hand like that, okay? I've missed this kind of turning over phase. So even though we have this square face, just want to know that there still is a tiny bit more of turning the arm afterwards as we get up to the finished position, okay? But the good thing is that if it is fairly square in the downswing, there's only a small amount of turn needed. That's controllable. But when it's like this and we're coming down and we have to turn super fast, that's just not controllable and we're just not going to be consistent that way. And the last thing I want to just talk about in terms of the hands and the arms here before getting into the lower body is the angle that we have in our arm to club here, so our wrist. Okay, this wrist angle coming down. And far too often players just get overexcited and start to kind of throw the club. You know, they're thinking that that's going to generate more power if they start gearing up right here, and then now there's like no more angle in here, which is casting. And the problem with that is the great analogy is always thinking like a whip, okay? When we're using a whip, right, we hold this angle back in our wrist, we're kind of pushing that hand towards the target, and then at the very last second, tossing it out, okay? But if we think about what people do when they cast the club like this, that's essentially like throwing the whip here and then pushing the hand afterwards. It's not going to be very effective. It's not going to have any speed to it. And so while people tend to think that that's more powerful, and whatever the reason was that they started doing it, it ends up losing speed and causes a lot of issues hitting the ball. So we need to kind of keep it in our mind like, hey, this whip here, right, I'm holding that angle. My target of what I'm hitting is down there. So I want to wait as long as I can before I go now and toss that whip at it, okay? There's no point in tossing it here, because if I toss it here and then just push my hands at the ball afterwards, I've lost all that energy, and it's totally losing a lot of speed. So when we get to the top of the swing, just naturally through what we've been working on, right, we should have some angle here in the wrists, okay, from the arm to the club. We're just trying to essentially, as I'm bringing these arms down, as we've talked about, I'm still trying to hold this club back with that angle. So while the club, or while the arms are coming down and maybe my elbow is kind of releasing like this a touch, I'm not doing this yet, okay? So that's kind of the last, we could call it a lever there, that we're hanging on to a little bit longer until we coming down and getting closer to that thing that we want to whip and hit it through, okay? All right, so now let's talk about the lower body movements, okay? So you can see I've got a bunch of little tools out here to kind of help illustrate and understand what's going on, all right? When it comes to the lower body, when doing it correctly, there's a lot of little pieces, a lot of little movements that are happening, and timing them are really crucial. So this is going to be a little extensive, but it's really good to kind of have different ideas and feelings and understandings about what parts of the body are doing what and what time. So we got to understand that in the downswing, there's about 3 main movements that the lower body is going to help us do, okay? We're going to have a lateral motion, so a side-to-side motion, a push from our trail side to our front side. There's going to be a rotational element, okay? And there's going to be some vertical where we're actually going to be pushing into the ground and using the ground to kind of help us push off it and to turn, things like that, okay? So let's get into kind of using some of these to help illustrate this. right here I have a slider disc. All right, so this is just like a slippery disc to kind of help illustrate if I was on ice, what would my foot be doing, okay? I have a squishy rubber disc here, which this is gonna be showing us where in the foot we're gonna wanna put this to help understand what part of the foot we should feel pushing into the ground, things like that. I got a chair here that we're also gonna be using in terms of how to be turning, how to be keeping our backside, where that should be moving, how much lateral motion, and some alignment sticks to visualize the separation that's going to be having. So let's start off by bringing this chair in here and just getting an idea of what it looks like in the downswing. All right, so if I'm at the top of the swing, I'm going to have my trail glute touching this chair, all right? That trail glute's on that chair. Now, a lot of times we see, and this is one of the major issues in golf in the world, is that in the downswing, as we're starting to hit the ball, there's a lot of space in between our backside and that chair. And so that's where we're gonna need to start to learn, how do I get this lead glute on that chair as I'm swinging down? And then we come off it kind of after we've hit, that's okay. So right now we're just kind of getting a quick kind of visual of what things should be looking like in the downswing. Trail glute on, kind of roll the center of the backside on that chair, get that lead side to be touching and through, okay? When we're looking at it from a lateral standpoint, okay, so a side to side, this is where when I'm starting here, I'm going to place this chair about a golf ball, a couple inches in front of my front hip there. And what I want to be thinking here is, in the downswing, I'd like to be moving over to that chair, but without kind of banging into it, which is sliding, okay? So I want to be moving over to that chair while I'm turning so that my lead side gets to that chair. It's kind of sliding along the edge of it. And then I come and kind of finish into the chair with my pelvis, my hips there, okay? So a couple inches in front. We're gonna be pushing over while we're turning and finish up into that chair, okay? Another big issue is that players just get too much of this big push early on, and then when we are pushed over here, we can't really turn from that position, and then they kind of hang back and have some issues that way, okay? So I want to use these on the ground here to illustrate how should we be using our feet to push us to the side or to help us turn, or our front side, how should that be helping us turn, because these are all involved. All right, so grabbing this slippery disc, what I want to be seeing here is, if we go to the top of the backswing, all right, there's a couple things that are going to be happening here. One, I am going to be having, and again, this is like I'm on ice, my foot would slip out, okay? It would slip that way because I'm pushing the ground that way to help make my body move towards the target, all right? So, and these are broken up into bite-sized pieces here, so obviously there's going to be something happening with my left side, my front side here in a second that we're going to talk about, because I don't want to just push off this side and do nothing over here. We're going to get to that. So with that push, again, it's not just a side-to-side push, I need a turn as well. So this back foot of ours is actually going to be, as it's pushing in this direction, it's actually going to be trying to twist the ground that way. And this is kind of a strange concept for a lot of people, because why would I try to twist the ground that way or push the ground on an angle like that? It's about rotation. Okay, so while I am pushing that in that direction, I am trying to essentially twist the ground, because that's giving me something to rotate against, all right? If I only push sideways, well, I'm only going to move sideways, right? But if I can go and kind of get that twist there, right, that's called torquing, where we're pushing, applying a rotational force. And now I can go and kind of use that for some rotational speed here, okay? So that's kind of the trail foot and its responsibility for pushing over and getting some rotation started, okay? Now, this is where we're going to place, I have this placed under the ball of my front foot, okay? This is just to illustrate, move this back a little. This is just to illustrate the ball of the front foot is the spot that as I am moving over to my front side, that's the part of the foot I want to be pressing into, okay? I don't want it in my toes. I don't want to be pressing all into my toes, because if that's the case and I press into my toes, it's really hard just to push my toes into the ground and help me push back this way. It's really tough. It's more likely going to be here and just kind of push straight up. So the ball of the foot is the part that we want to start to learn, that as I'm kind of falling into my front side, that's where I want to push into the ground. That's where I want to push off the ground here, okay, to get that rotation happening from that front side, okay? So we kind of put these together here. And I have this sensation of, all right, I'm going to push in this direction with a tiny bit of twist as I'm pushing down into that yellow rubber disc, okay? So essentially all we're doing here is pushing ourselves to the front side while adding a little bit of turn and getting into that front foot, okay? Getting some pressure into that front foot. And like, why would I be getting into that front foot? Okay, why am I doing that? It's because now I've essentially started my downswing with my backside, and I've started some turn of my hips by using my trail foot to kind of help spin the ground, twist the ground, rotate me. But now I need to start finishing off this rotation that I've started here. I need to finish it off with this front leg, trying to get this front hip to go back around. Okay, and that's why it's so crucial that we learn to get the pressure into the ball of that front foot, because that's a great spot to now push off of back here. Okay, so if I bring this back in here, all right, so I'm going to go to the top here. I feel a push from my right side to my left. I'm using that trail foot to kind of twist me a bit. I'm getting into the ball of that front foot. And then now from here, I want to be thinking, how can I go right now and use this golf club to pretty much feel like I'm going to smash into something behind me? Okay? I'm centered, I'm balanced. The thing is that people don't realize, like, all of that just happened because I was using the ground, right? It sounds all maybe confusing in the beginning, but we can't just go here and just like think about just twisting our hips. Okay, it's all ground related to do it efficiently, effectively. So right now I got a couple alignment sticks. One just through my belt loops just to represent my hip rotation, and one I'm just going to kind of place near my shoulders here. Okay, and I just want to show what it looks like to have a nice downswing in terms of the separation, because we're not going to be swinging the same with our hips and shoulders the whole time. All right, and starting the downswing, when it's done, well, I should show here from this side, even in the backswing, we're going to find that my shoulders have turned, rotated more than my hips have, okay? And then in starting down, we're going to notice that those hips are what really try to open up first, a little bit quicker, okay? A little sooner, a little quicker. I'm not trying to get my shoulders to whip open too much right away. I want those hips to be rotating where I'm kind of keeping this X, we could say, in the downswing. These are not going parallel to each other. All right. So if I'm back on this chair again here, and we kind of watch from this side, I'm back on there with my trail glute. I'm getting my lead glute on that chair, but as I'm coming down, right, we could say almost resisting the urge to go and just whip open with our shoulders. Okay? And obviously, some people are going to be able to do this more than others, right? Mobility. But for most part, people are able to you know, people are able to move their hips a little bit separately from their upper body. I haven't seen too many people who just can't move their hips at all and only can go together, right? So that's where we just need to learn it's okay to have just a little bit of separation. It doesn't have to be this crazy amount. Keep that trail side on, front side on, okay? And then we're gonna go and push up into the finish. And that's where, as I'm coming through impact and just after, that's where these alignment sticks are now gonna kind of start catching up to each other. So if we kind of watch from this side here, in, still got some separation, but as I come into hit, that's when they're catching up to each other, okay? So after we finish up here and we get to the homework section, I'm gonna give you some good drills for these things. So I know that kind of learning it in the beginning for, you know, a lot of people that are just kind of newish to the game, this can be very confusing, right? But we can learn how to do these things just with some simple drills. And even though you might not be thinking about it all technically, you'll be doing it correctly, right? And that's kind of what we want in the beginning. And then those players that are at a high level or understand at a high level, then you can take what you need from these pieces. Okay, so as we're bringing these arms down, we'll kind of get an idea of how this is putting together. All right, as I'm bringing these arms down, some timing things here. I am feeling this little bit of this push. Right away, my arms are coming down, I'm feeling this little bit of this push to my front side, okay, this direction. It's not gonna be a lot, right? I'm not really jumping over here, but there's a little marginal amount of push as the hands and arms are coming down. You're gonna notice that my front knee, in starting down, it's starting to kind of turn out in this direction. We gotta understand, like even in the backswing, as my hips turn back, my knees move on that same direction. So if I want in the downswing, if I want my hips to be turning and opening up towards the target, and I keep my knee facing towards you there, well, I can only go so far with my hips, right? So that's where I need to start learning to get that front knee of mine kind of turning out on an angle, okay? That's gonna help you open up those hips better. So I got that little push to my front side, arms are coming down, my front knee's kind of opening up. I've now squishing. We call it squishing that disc or squishing a bug under the ball of my front foot. Now I'm going to be pushing off behind me in this direction, right? Essentially trying to push the ground on an angle that way to push my hip back this way. Really good understanding here is that if I want to use this front side, my front leg to help finish off my turn, then as I'm coming down, I need to open up this knee and this front hip, these hips, so that they're aiming a little bit, for me, left of the target, so that now this part of this foot that I'm pushing into the ground, which is the ball of my foot, and the hip that I'm trying to turn back, there's an angle there, and I can push back on that angle. But if we get to this point where it's like, okay, now my hip is straight above my foot, or my ball of my foot where I'm gonna be turning from, well, which direction am I gonna be pushing that hip? Just straight up. I need that to be on an angle here from the hip to the ball of that foot, so that as I push, I have that angle to push against, okay? So, kind of watching this side. Got that push to the side, I'm feeling that rotation. Now, to kind of finish it off, another great analogy is thinking about an uppercut, okay? So I've started down, I'm getting turned, I'm kind of getting into the ground a little bit, and then now I'm thinking about an uppercut this direction. So to do that, I am turning those hips, I'm then kind of thrusting them up into this nice, tall, balanced, strong position, okay? Here, opening that up, pushing into that front foot, lower, I'm now gearing up to finish this kind of push here, my trail foot, my right side here as I'm pushing this front side back. At the exact same time, this right side is going to be coming through, right? That's a big thing that we need to really understand, is that if I want to turn towards you there with some power here, then I better get my front hip out of the way so that this trail hip can come through. Because if I don't turn enough and I use this trail foot and my trail side to push through here, well, what's that? That's just sliding through there, okay? So I gotta get that turned so that I can get this trail side to really explode through to the finish so that I can finish looking fully at the target there, okay? And then a final point I just want to make before we get into the homework here and work on this stuff is that when I work with someone and I'm watching them, videoing them on screen, is I like to draw a line about a couple inches in front of their front hip, just where this chair is. And then I'll draw a line on the front side of their head. And so what I'm looking for from setup to impact is that head is still going to be on that line, but these hips have now moved laterally that couple inches as they've rotated, okay? So essentially there's a tiny bit more spine tilt that's going to be happening there at impact. So just wanted to show that, you know, that head isn't moving the same as those hips. Otherwise, a lot of times that's going to cause over the top to happen. So as we're pushing to that front side with rotation of those hips, that head's going to stay kind of where it was at impact, and then that head will kind of come and kind of finish more over the hips and the pelvis there after in the follow through. All right, so for our homework here, I want you to get something like a chair, something that comes up to the backside here. This chair height's perfect for me. What I really want you focusing on here right now is a ton of, from the top of the backswing, first off these arms, kind of understanding that motion and adding some turn from the right glute to the left glute. So as I do that, I'm keeping my belt kind of under me. It's not coming forwards. Those arms are coming down my trail side. I'm adding a little bit of lateral motion with that, so I'm slightly moving to my front side. And then we can add in, as you kind of watch yourself doing that in the mirror, that club face, how to get that club face back to that angle. Just do this a ton. It's going to be huge and super helpful if you just get this first initial part of the downswing down. That front shoulder's kind of opening up, okay? And then from there, what I want us to do is once we've kind of got that, we're going to go and have this happening, and then from there, just let it go, okay? And let it go, I mean, I'm going to go and toss this club head down to the ground, let those arms extend out. Now my trail hand is ready to shake that hand here. So we can go and here, stop in this kind of position. Am I there? Awesome. Or did I come and swing like this and it's like that? Okay. I needed a bit more of that rotation there, okay? And then to finish this, let's go ahead, and once we've got this and the body's finishing off its turn, that club and arms are going over the front shoulder and they kind of just bend and we pull those hands back over to the side, okay? All right, awesome job everyone. A lot of great work done there. I know that's some tough stuff, but again, remember, take what you need from it depending on your stage of development, okay? So work on those stuff in that homework, really put in some time to understand the feelings of the different body movements there, and we'll just keep it rolling, okay? So great work, and we'll see you next time on Develop the Ultimate Golf Game.